Eleanor Estes was an American children's author. She was born on May 9, 1906, in West Haven, Connecticut, as Eleanor Ruth Rosenfield. She died after a stroke at the age of 82 on July 15, 1988, in Hamden, Connecticut. Estes' childhood was thoroughly grounded in an earlier, more rural, simpler time. Estes described growing up in West Haven in her autobiographical entry in the Junior Book of Authors. Estes' childhood was not an easy one. One of 4 children, her father, a railroad accountant, passed away when she was 13 years old, leaving her mother, a dressmaker, to raise the family. The theme of straightening circumstances and everyone pitching in together, which shows up in many of her books, was a recounting of her own experiences. Upon graduating high school in 1923, Estes joined the New Haven Library in the children's section and worked up the ranks there, till becoming the children's section librarian in 1929. In 1931, Estes received a scholarship at the Pratt Institute Library School for a year of study. It was there that she met a fellow student, Rice Estes, from South Carolina, and career librarian as well. Upon completing her studies, Eleanor Estes joined the New York Public Library, where she stayed until resigning in 1940 to pursue writing full-time. In December 1932, she married Rice Estes. The Estes lived in the New York area until 1948, when her husband's career took her to South California for 4 years. It was in California that her only child, daughter Helena, was born in 1948. They returned to the East Coast in 1952 and lived in Manhattan, Connecticut, and Washington, D.C., as Rice Estes' career dictated, but also always gravitating back to Connecticut, where they ultimately settled. Eleanor Estes' career followed after a case of tuberculosis, where she was bedridden and began writing stories based on her childhood experiences. She wrote a total of 18 children's books and 1 adult book. The books the Moffats published in 1941, the Little Moffat published in 1942, and Rufus M. published in 1943, are about the life of Sylvie, Joe, Jane, and Rufus, the Moffat children, whose family life parallels to the one Estes herself led as a child. She was the 3rd of 4 children with a mother, like the Moffats' mother, who was a widowed dressmaker. In the books Ginger Pie, published in 1951, and Pinkie Pie, published in 1958, are similarly family-centric, but in this series the action revolves around the family's 2 pets. In the first instance, the dog, Ginger Pie, and the second, the cat, Pinkie. Estes based these stories on actual events with her own childhood pets. For Ginger Pie, Estes received the Herald Tribune Spring Book Festival Award in 1951 and the Newbery Medal in 1952. Then in 1962, she was given the Certificate of Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Children's Literature. And in 1970, she was nominated for the Laura Ingalls Wilder Award. Most critics of the children's literature praise Estes for her perceptive and evocative portraits of family life, recognizing especially her creation of the Moffat books as significant and lasting contribution to the family story as a subgenre. Her books are set for readers ages 4 to 12 years in age. The most popular of her 19 books, many of which she illustrated herself, was 100 Dresses, published in 1944. It is a tale about a poor child who is ridiculed for her tattered clothing and who insists that she owns 100 dresses. They turn out to be drawings, and when they win a prize, the girl's tormentors are abashed and perhaps reformed. Eleanor Estes received the Newbery Honor Award for the Middle Moffat, Rufus M., and 100 Dresses. A list of other books written by Eleanor Estes are Sleeping Giant, published in 1948, A Little Oven, published in 1955, The Witch Family, published in 1960, Small but Weary, published in 1963, The Alley, published in 1964, The Lollipop Princess, published in 1967, Miranda the Great, published in 1967. Miranda the Great takes place in Rome and is told about a cat named Miranda and her daughter Punca. They live with a loving family who also own a dog named Zag. When the barbarians invade the city, the family flees to safety. But with all the commotion, the cats are left behind. The two cats make their way through the city, where they collect motherless kittens. They find shelter at the vast Colosseum, but Miranda has to run off enemy. Because of her bravery, courage, and cleverness, she becomes known as Miranda the Great. Other books include The Tunnel of Hugsy Good, published in 1972, The Lost Umbrella of Kim Chu, published in 1978, The Coathanger Christmas, published in 1979. In The Coathanger Christmas, a little girl named Mariana, age 10, and her brother Kenny, age 11, had never had a Christmas tree. Their mother refuses to put a Christmas tree because she states that they do not need to be like every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Mariana finds fresh trees on her way home in front of the college and decides to take them home in hopes of her mother changing her mind. At the end, Mariana gets a tree, but it is not the traditional tree usually seen on Christmas. The Moffat Museum is also a continuation of the Moffat books. And lastly, The Curious Adventures of Jimmy McGee, published in 1987. As mentioned earlier, Miss Estes wrote a single adult novel titled The Echoing Green, which never achieved the popularity of her children's work.